The countdown is already underway. We didn't start it. It's not the result of anything done by the news production team. It's the result of what many are seeing as a consequence of the decisions Donald Trump has made in the last 24 hours, especially the most significant one, which for many is already considered a declaration of war: the total blockade of the oil tankers that transport Venezuelan oil. Various petroleum-derived supplies that Venezuela's oil industry needs to operate, a decision aimed at financially suffocating Nicolas Maduro's regime. In a moment, I'll tell you more. Stay with us because I'm going to give you the details. How much does this measure taken by the United States against Nicolas Maduro's regime cost? But the bigger question is, how long can Maduro sustain it? The person who published this countdown is Marshall Billingsley. Here you can see the post. He made it at 11 p.m. last night. This would mean a countdown that would end at 11 p.m. Argentine time, as you can see on Wednesday, the 17th. What could happen in these 24 hours? This decision by Billingsley, who is a former Trump administration official, is a risky one. That is, from the first Trump administration, who followed more closely than anyone all the measures that government took against Nicolas Maduro's regime, and who has continued to closely monitor and even anticipate many things that later end up becoming decisions by the US government in this second phase of maximum pressure against Maduro. He is the man who published the images and details of what the bunker where Maduro is supposedly hiding looks like. He is the one. He revealed who the pilot was that the CIA tried to turn into a spy, although this pilot decided not to betray him. As you can see here, the countdown marks what would be the continuity from that moment when Marshall S. Billingsley was publishing. This is someone who comes, for example, to testify before the United States Congress, detailing the links with terrorism, with Hezbollah, and the necessity for U.S. interests to move against the Nicolas Maduro regime. Maduro, who keeps responding with slogans in English, keeps calling for no war, now even wearing a little cap. Look.
I am truly a grateful man, and I genuinely appreciate receiving gifts. There is still ample time until December 31st for any thoughtful birthday presents, so I truly and deeply appreciate this wonderful cap with its powerful and central message: not war, just peace, always. This cap is going to become famous this season, both nationally and internationally. I thank you all.
He keeps betting that it's all just a bluff, even copying almost the color of the cap instead of Trump's MAGA cap, Make America Great Again, is countered by this cap, not war, yes peace, pronounced in his own mature English, which is English only he understands. Now, he keeps betting on that. And then on showing that he will resist all the advances made by the United States, this 25-week pressure campaign. That's what Maduro called it. And he also called for a great worldwide strike against the United States. Let's listen to him.
Venezuela has spent 25 weeks denouncing, confronting, and ultimately defeating a comprehensive and multifaceted campaign of aggression that ranges extensively from insidious psychological terrorism to the brazen piracy perpetrated by privateers who unlawfully seized our vital oil resources. And it takes many forms of action. Venezuela has shown our country, all social, political, and economic sectors, that Venezuela is a strong country, that Venezuela has real power. And we have shown that we are prepared to continue moving forward. And what's more, we are ready to accelerate the pace of a profound revolution that gives power to the people fully and definitively, without intermediaries.
After hearing these statements from Maduro, saying that they are going to resist, that they are even going to accelerate, to step on the gas, that they are going to protest and so on, one of the most powerful men in the White House, one of Donald Trump's closest and most trusted people, Stephen Miller, posted what you are about to see now. This is a post from just a few minutes ago. Formally, Stephen Miller is the Deputy Chief of Staff, but he is Trump's ideologue. He is someone who provides Trump with certain ideological insights to help guide the President of the United States. And he has been a staunch Trump supporter from the very beginning. And this is what he says, right? American sweat, ingenuity, and labor created the oil industry in Venezuela. It's a truly tyrannical and oppressive expropriation. It was, without a doubt, the longest and most extensive recorded theft against the accumulated wealth and private property of the United States of America, a nation founded on individual liberties. The plundering of these assets was then used to finance terrorism, flood our streets with killers, mercenaries, and drugs. What is he talking about? What theft is he talking about? He's talking about how the Maduro regime used the oil from an industry that had in fact received a lot of American investment to build the Venezuela it created, essentially as a machine to threaten Latin America. Let's keep watching, because obviously what Miller was doing there was quoting Marco Rubio, the other extremely powerful man in the Trump administration who is the Secretary of State, and who in turn was quoting the message in which Trump announced the sanctions and the total blockade against specifically the Maduro regime in terms of oil. Later on, we'll go into detail about what that announcement is about and what numbers we're talking about. Now, are we really facing a countdown? Could it be that there are only 10 hours left? That would be according to what Marshall Billings was predicting, if we can look at our clock again. This is according to what Marshall Billings was predicting, not what we're saying. Are we really facing something that, as we mentioned at some point, will be over before Christmas? Could that be? And how would that happen? Because this would mean financially suffocating, which could have a more medium-term effect. But what would a direct attack look like? First, let's remember, this is the level of forces that the United States currently has deployed around the Venezuelan coasts. Let's look at it in an infographic that shows us. Now let's go to the map. Let's take a look. Look at what this is. This is the full deployment that the United States has carried out since September 2nd, which includes more than 15,000 troops, more than 10 ships, including the largest aircraft carrier in the world, the USS Gerald Ford. We're talking about different types of aircraft, more than 100 planes, spy planes, fighter bombers, planes designed for cyber warfare to interfere with communications. All of this is currently deployed, flying over and prowling the Venezuelan coasts at this very moment. And what could the objectives be? Let's pause for a moment there. Let's look at the map, please. These could be some of the targets that the United States is currently considering. Let's go over them quickly. What you're going to see in green are naval assets, assets that belong to the Venezuelan Navy. What you'll see in red are potential aerial targets, that is, important air bases. What you see in orange are targets directly linked to the Navy. In yellow, some of the main air defense systems, very few of which they have, as has been demonstrated, because no US plane was intercepted. But look at what's here. These are the critical assets, the ones at this point. This is Caracas. The United States knows that the bulk of the armed forces, the bulk of Venezuela's military power, is not spread throughout the territory, but is here very poorly concentrated in Caracas. And here you have Fuerte Tiuna, the country's main military stronghold. You have the headquarters of the DGCIM, which is the Directorate of Military Counterintelligence, the main repressive agency of the regime. You also have, of course, the main air base, which is Francisco de Miranda, among other command centers located there. So could there be targeted attacks here? At different points on the map, as I just mentioned, if the United States wanted to inflict only limited damage in some way on the regime. Now, if they wanted to go after the regime, everything is concentrated here in Caracas at these targets I just mentioned. This is the reality in these hours that seem decisive, and of the possible targets that Donald Trump has on the table. Of course, a complement is needed. And that's because if Maduro falls, there needs to be a legitimate power to take charge of Venezuela, and that's where María Corina Machado comes into play. We have already confirmed that María Corina Machado is no longer in Oslo. This was published by Pedro Uruchurtu, one of her main collaborators, who was actually confined in the Argentine embassy in Venezuela for almost a year. Official statement: María Corina Machado is well, and during these days, she is attending medical appointments with specialists for her prompt and full recovery, as confirmed by the Prime Minister of Norway. She is no longer in the city of Oslo. Of course, she broke a vertebra and suffered a lot of physical problems as a result of that escape. This is an important announcement because now that she is no longer in Oslo, she has begun a journey that will end with her in Venezuela after Maduro's fall. For many people, we are in a countdown that could end at any moment. In a moment, we will be speaking with a journalist who has just accompanied María Corina Machado there in Oslo, and she will tell us, among other things, what is being said within the closest circle of the Venezuelan leader.